This video is a start-to-finish workflow for creating a custom object detection deep learning model in ArcGIS Pro using the Image Analyst extension. My name is Allison and I'm a data analyst at Polygon Solutions. Polygon Solutions is a top provider of GIS, data analysis, software development, and management solutions. In this video, I will demonstrate the steps necessary to create a model, from collecting the training data to showing the model actually detecting objects in imagery, and I'll also be including some tips that we found useful along the way. This video is going to be more on the beginner side of things, where I will train on a single image to detect turn arrows. Image selection is important when picking the tiles to use for deep learning. For better results, you'll want to keep the image resolutions consistent throughout all the images. We chose 6-inch TIFFs for labeling the arrows, so this means that 1 pixel on each image represents 6 inches by 6 inches in the real world. Another thing we found to be important was the bands. All images used to create labels should have the same bands. We found that making sure the bands are consistent is important to running a successful model. So to start, I have ArcGIS Pro open with an image that I want to label. You can see that there are a couple of turn arrows in the image, and that's what we're going to be detecting. The first step I need to do to build a deep learning model is to collect the training data. With my image selected in the Contents panel, I'm going to click Imagery at the top of the screen and select Deep Learning Tools and then Label Objects for Deep Learning. This opens up a new window on the right, and here I will create a new schema by right-clicking New Schema and then Add New Class. For the name, I'm just going to type in turn arrows, and for the value, I'll just say 1, and then I will select a color and click OK. At the bottom, I'm going to load in a table of previously labeled turn arrows. This file contains about 130 records. And now I'm going to show how to add some additional labels by using the tools at the top to select my training objects. For these turn arrows, I'm just going to use the rectangle drawing tool and draw the shape around a couple of turn arrows. As I do this, you can see in my labeled objects window that they are being added. Then once I'm done, I can save it as a feature class by clicking Save. The next step is to format the training data for deep learning by clicking on the Export Training Data tab. I have the output folder, which will contain image chips, labels, and metadata. Then I need to decide on my metadata format, and I'm going to choose RCN and mass and leave the rest of the parameters as default, and then click Run. Once the tool is run, I will end up with this folder that contains the image chips and the metadata that is ready to be used as an input to train the deep learning model. I'm now going to close the Label Objects pane and go to Imagery once again to select Deep Learning Tools, then Train Deep Learning Model. I'm going to click Set My Own Parameters, then click Next. And here I'm going to set the input training data as the folder that I just created in that last step. Then I need to define a new folder for the model output. Once the input training data is loaded, the model parameters will also show up, and I'll just be leaving everything here as default, and then I'm going to click Run. This will take a little while to run, so for the sake of time, I've already ran this tool, so let's just go take a look at what the output is. In the folder created, we have the model files, including the DLPK file, the model metrics, and the model characteristics. Now we can go ahead and use the model to detect these turn arrows in a different image. I'm going to open up the geoprocessing pane and search for detect objects using deep learning. The input raster will be a new image that's different from the one that I trained on so that we can see if the turn lanes are being detected. For the model definition, I will select the DLPK file from the output of the Train Deep Learning Model tool. I'm going to leave the rest as default and hit Run. This will take a little while again, so for the sake of time, I've already ran this tool, so let's just go take a look at the results. The output of the Detect Objects Using Deep Learning tool is a feature class with a polygon around each of the objects that it detected. So we can see that it missed a couple of arrows in the image, but for the most part it detected just about all of them. This image has a total of 170 turn arrows, so if I open up my table here, we can see exactly how many it detected, which looks to be 160. So it found 160 out of a possible 170, which is roughly a 94% accuracy, so I would say it was pretty successful. So in summary, we just walked through all of the steps to create and use a custom object detection deep learning model in ArcGIS Pro. I would just like to remind everyone to be patient while exploring deep learning because it did take hundreds of hours to get all of this figured out and working correctly. Thank you to Esri Support for helping us navigate through this process. You can follow us on LinkedIn as we plan to create more resources. Thanks for watching.